Imagine this. A poor black mechanic, sweating on the runway, struggling to fix a billionaire's jet while everyone laughed at him. But just minutes later, the billionaire's own daughter walked straight up to him and said something no one could believe. "Marry me." Shocked already? You'll be even more stunned in the next 2 minutes, so hit that subscribe button right now because this story will leave you speechless. On a scorching afternoon, at a private airport, a young black mechanic named Darius was fighting against time to repair a stubborn jet engine. His uniform was dirty, his hands were trembling from exhaustion, and every person around looked down on him. Wealthy passengers whispered, mocking him, saying, "How can this boy handle a billionaire's jet? We'll miss our meetings because of him." Security guards snickered. Even the airport supervisor doubted him. But what no one knew was that this moment, this single breakdown, was about to change his entire life forever. Standing not too far away, watching quietly with piercing eyes, was the billionaire's daughter Eleanor, and in just a few moments, something would happen that would shock even her powerful father. Darius had grown up poor, fixing broken cars, on the side of the road, learning with nothing but his bare hands and a determination carved out of struggle. Now, this private jet was his biggest test. Sweat poured down his forehead, tools slipped from his fingers, and every second of delay felt like the end of his career. Passengers grew furious. The billionaire's assistant yelled, "If you can't fix it, you're fired on the spot." Instead of giving up, Darius dug deeper, remembering his mother's words. "Son, you're not defined by what people call you. You're defined by what you prove." With shaking hands, he whispered to himself, "I will not fail today." But then, as if fate wanted to test him further, a small spark from the engine shot out and nearly burned his arm. Gasps erupted. People screamed. Everyone thought he was finished. But instead of quitting, Darius gritted his teeth, tightened the wrench, and kept going. Just when the crowd thought he'd never succeed, the engine roared back to life. The jet thundered like a beast awakening from the dead. Silence spread across the runway. The billionaire himself, stepping out of his limousine, froze in disbelief. But instead of giving thanks, the supervisor sneered, "You just got lucky. Don't think you're worth anything." Laughter followed. But then, cutting. Through the noise, Elena, the billionaire's daughter, walked forward. Every eye turned to her. Her heels clicked on the runway, her gaze locked on Darius. And in a clear, confident voice she said, "That wasn't luck, that was genius." The crowd fell silent. The supervisor blinked in shock. The assistant gasped. And for the first time, Darius felt truly seen. Elena began asking him questions about his life, his struggles, his dreams. Embarrassed, he admitted he never had the luxury of college, never had fancy tools, only grit, hard work, and faith. Elena's eyes softened. She saw in him something money could never buy: authenticity. The supervisor grew angry, shouting, "Enough! He's just a worker. Let's leave him." But Elena didn't back down. She turned to her father, the billionaire himself, and declared, "Dad, if you can't see his worth, then I will, because I've made my choice." Gasps rippled through the crowd. No one could believe what she just said. And then, the moment that shook everyone to their core. Elena stepped closer to Darius, looked him dead in the eyes, and said the unthinkable. "Darius, will you marry me?" The billionaire nearly dropped his champagne. The assistant almost fainted. The passengers whispered furiously, "This can't be real." Darius, stunned and trembling, stammered, You can't be serious." But Elena smiled, her voice unwavering. "I've never been more serious in my life. You've shown me what true strength looks like, and I don't care about money, status, or power. I care about the man who refuses to give up." Tears welled in Darius's eyes. For a boy once mocked for being poor, unloved, invisible, this was a moment beyond imagination. The billionaire, still stunned, stepped forward. Everyone braced themselves for his anger. Instead, after a long pause, he sighed deeply and said, "You risked your life to fix my jet. You proved your worth more than any of these men in suits. If my daughter sees something in you, who am I? To stand in her way?" The crowd erupted in shock. Some clapped, others just stood frozen. And just like that, on the same runway where Darius had been humiliated, he was lifted up, respected, admired, and loved. From a struggling mechanic to the man a billionaire's daughter wanted as her husband, his life transformed in a single afternoon. And that's how a poor mechanic, once mocked and doubted, found himself standing at the center of the runway, with a roaring jet behind him and a billionaire's daughter by his side. If this story shocked you, imagine what's coming next, so make sure you subscribe right now, because the next one will leave you even more stunned.